Hello, Kopi Ke Milo podcast. Another episode, a brand new year. This episode we have Gypsib0i, also known as Syed Faz. You should listen to this episode if you guys are into all the deep spiritual stuff, man. Spirituality, religion, understanding the heart, being at peace with yourself. You see, all this deep stuff, spiritual stuff basically. Give it a listen, man. Keep your mind open, keep your heart and soul all cleared up. Give it a little bit of a spin. Listen, man. Speak soft, listen hard. Increase your attention span. Gain more knowledge, fellas.
Hello, Kopi Ke Milo. We have the Gypsib0i on episode 35, first week of 2019, bro.
Such an honor to be here.
Who is Gypsib0i, man? How would you describe yourself?
I used to think I was some kind of gypsy boy before I let you take me home. Well, how that came about, I was listening to the song with a good friend of mine, and I was like, well, that's exactly how I feel about my life at this point. It's moving around from places to places, and
Have you always been a constant nomad?
it feels that way, yeah. Ever since I was in school, it's just a lot of moving around. Syed Fazril Azwan.
So prior to all this transformation, right, you were a musician, I presume, right? You are a guitarist, lyricist, and also composer, I guess.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
How did your musical journey begin?
I picked up music when I was 12, but then what hit me and got me going out there and making my own materials is listening to Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan.
Yeah, well, he's one of my heroes. you know.
Isn't how many days must a man walk down?
Yeah, that song.
For
is-
they call him a man.
Yeah, that song was everything to me.
Really? Eh?
Yeah, come mothers and fathers throughout the land.
Yeah.
Don't criticize what you can understand.
Understand.
Sort of humility that was starting to be programmed into me, And Bob Dylan has always been an interesting character. He's always had this he knows he's not very identified with himself, so he's just a tambourine man, He's a jester, just going around and scratching on people's balls the wrong way. Everybody's out here trying to get to things, rush to things, and sort of chase the time and trying to be young while doing amazing things. But I feel that that's not really relevant in my life. I should get my things in order first.
All right.
And very much inspired by Leonard Cohen. He released his first album when he was 36.
Yeah, I mean, it's never too late for us.
Never
dude.
too late.
Yeah.
Who knows? When probably I'm 36, I release my first album and it's gonna be something,
Yeah.
So definitely in no rush. I just hope to have a lot more heart in everything I wish to pursue, everything I touch, I guess, in this life.
The understanding of life, man. The understanding of life and flow, timing, your perspective, and also it's not just an assumption, because I feel like I can connect, but it's just you're more open about it. Let's just begin with the unconscious mind, the things that we project into the universe, the thing that we think about creates reality, right?
Well, the only thing that is real is God consciousness. Shifting the awareness step by step. There's a process, there's a ladder you have to climb. Stillness, unmoving consciousness, the thing that stays the same. Us as a personality, things change. We are sometimes this, sometimes that. But the lineage of, I guess I'm a student of, we only concern ourselves with what's permanent, what's timeless. There's no beginning, there's no ending. If anybody has ever told you, your ustad and whatever, the characteristics of God, it's a good reference point, So stillness is very simple. In fact, it's too simple. It's too simple that people overlook. It's too simple that it's boring. It's not experiential. People want to experience, but in stillness, you are no longer the experiencer of life. the experiencer of life is separate from life when we are life itself.
We are life itself, what the whole universe is one. Is that what you're saying?
It's all one. Tawhid. It's that's only that.
So when you detach yourself from being the experiencer, would that mean that there's less pain? Because you don't attach yourself to any given circumstances, storyline, right?
Yeah,
so you're
definitely.
just detached in a
No
way.
narratives.
No narratives, detachment.
You have no story.
No.
You can tell your story. I'm telling my story,
Mm-hmm.
my past, whatever, how I got here.
Yeah.
But that's just a story,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
No narratives. There's nothing in the mind telling you of who you are, what you believe in, what your faith is, what you are supposed to do, what you are not supposed to do, what's good, what's bad, all of that. Out the trash. In Zen, they say, empty your cup before you can fill it again.
Empty your cup before you can fill it again. If not, you'll be overflow with overwhelmingness, anxiety.
It's
Right.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's there's only so much that the mind can comprehend. Consciousness is not just from the mind, you know. It's the whole body as a unit, as a whole.
So if life is so simple, right? I mean, I don't mean to sound with the notation of being sarcastic here, but if life was so simple, and why are we here in the first place?
It's only simple when you don't live in a consciousness of duality, stillness, right? Basically, the sort of practical aspect of it is basically you can do this. You hear everything around you, right? The water, the people walking, the kids was playing there. Those are not noise. Those are not music either. And in the art of listening, you find where your heart is. So you're not thinking, you're listening to everything around you. Suddenly, the heartbeat gets louder, way louder than it usually is. Nothing else anybody tells you is true. You can take it with a pinch of salt. You know, you can just be like, yeah, I can reason with that. It's a food for thought, interesting. You know, it's entertainment, but it's only this. Like my teacher would say, in the gap between two thoughts, one thought has ended, another thought is about to begin. Tiny space in between that can be expanded into infinity. You'll be scared what you see in there.
Why would I be scared?
You start seeing yourself. That's the scariest thing anybody can ever go through.
When you see yourself,
Yeah.
why so?
Who you are, what you do, and what you tell yourself. Finally, you can breathe and look at yourself from outside of yourself, but within yourself.
Like a outer body experience,
Something like that.
like
Yeah.
a third person point of view.
And you know, you start to, of course, you know, there are bad people, there are nice people, whatever, but it's very sophisticated in a way where nice doesn't exactly mean true. That's a lot. It's hard to comprehend that.
I mean, it's not. I understand what you mean though. Like, nice doesn't really mean that it's real. It could be fake. It is most likely fake. It's a pretense, false pretense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As well as a lot of people are nice because of a moral compass that is artificial. This is why, you know, I can bluntly say that we need God. You know, there's no other way around it. Everybody these days, I mean, people our age, the ideological hype is in atheism. I have been that. If you want to talk about, you know, where I was before, I have been that. Not believing in God, you know, what you see is what you see. Underlining all of that, yeah, they say that I do good because humanity is above religion. Let's rephrase the word religion for a bit now. I guess what I'm talking about is not concerning religion, but concerning religiousness. What do you think is the difference between the two?
I mean, religion is a set of rules that you have been bestowed upon, I guess, but religiousness has something to do with spirituality. Yeah.
Somewhat, but deeper than that. Religiousness is free of all of that stuff. That identification, putting faith where it doesn't belong. It becomes blind faith. A lot of relevance in Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, and I baru nak jatuh cinta dengan Islam, you know, because like the atheist, I was under the impression that the God that I was taught to worship, those who worship that God does terrible things, say terrible things, put people under pretty big obligations that we cannot begin to comprehend and even know the reason why. I feel that I have to liberate myself from it.
Yeah.
It's only here.
Mm-hmm.
When you read the holy book, with this, it's a different thing, my man. It bypasses all of the interpretations. It bypasses hadith, sunnah, do what the Prophet does. But the Prophet is in a different state of consciousness, my man. And you are following him in sobriety. What does that do to your well-being? Lagi senang living in good or bad, right and wrong.
Yeah,
Or you do this good thing, I'm going to heaven. What if you take all that out our way? And you have to be completely responsible for yourself. Nobody dares come here in this realm.
Yeah.
It's too much responsibility, and they're not equipped with the right tools. And the heart, I'm not saying it metaphorically. A lot of people are separated. It's only the mind, it's only the heart, it's only the hati. But what if all of it comes together?
Yeah.
And it's actually a sensation whereby you listen to your heart, you put your attention to this space right here. Macam I can tell you, why don't you shift your attention to your left ear? It's very subtle, right? It's not an explosive thing. This is where faith comes in. You put your consciousness over here, faithfully, abide in the process, see what happens. You don't know what's going to happen. There's no exact rewards and stuff. So, all of these things, the meanings of all these words change, man. Language starts to... We cannot... All this while, we have suppressed this dialogue, not the dialogue of... mental health awareness, and people should know. I can tell you, I understand that you're depressed. I have gone through that. I know you're gonna think that your condition will always be special. Your suffering will always be special to yourself, because it has to be. If not, you're not depressed. You're not different. There's this compulsion of being different around here, right? I mean, with this day and age. But at the same time, I believe that one has to embody a good reference point to work this out with somebody. Like, hey, let's start doing simple things. Back to grounding, sort of where things don't exist, Rake your leaves, cook in your kitchen, wash your dishes, help mom wash the dishes. We are too busy trying to change the world, too busy trying to inspire, motivate. Not that it's bad. It always, but I feel that it's useless unless you can open somebody up to receiving it. Empty their cup first, and then they can profoundly feel motivated, it's the process. It's not just saying the right things that hit people, because people are overstimulated with language. They always want to hear the most profound shit, the most philosophical philosophies, but it just doesn't cut it. It will never cut your mustard. It will never bring you to the satisfaction of well-being, So with depression, this is the dialogue that we cannot have. And I credit that to religion, religiousness, because it's very sensitive thing to say that all of you guys depressed because you don't have God. You don't have a reference point, proper reference point to sort of return yourself to God or to cultivate that path in well-being. So I kesian juga that's my kesian on the most deeper level, because this is not an environment where there is such a thing, People don't talk about these things. It's just mainly solutions of coping.
Coping mechanism, right?
Yeah.
Like the people who are depressed, usually it's either they cure or they end up hurting themselves due to the pain that they feel so much. If there's no good and bad, might as well everyone just cease to exist, right? In a way.
Cease to exist. There's nothingness there as well. You may as well embody nothingness over here, and then it's smooth transition in approaching death. You are relaxed in it. It's as Terence McKenna said, this is all about the process of getting used to your eternal body, which exists when you die. This consciousness that goes on. I mean, I have deep contemplations about what death is and stuff like that, and it's fucking scary, I remember telling my teacher about it, and he's just like, yeah, it's natural. It's bound to come out, because none of this would have any use if not for death. The reason why we do things we do and all this stuff, despite all of the relativism, everybody thinks that they have to do this first before they die. I feel that I have to do this first before I die. The reason is death. Why we even do all these things? Life is quite sweet. as much as there is suffering around here. Sometimes some of us are unconsciously, ideologically attached to the sweetness of sadness. Every thought, every chirp in the head, everything you tell yourself, there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of this victimhood mentality. It's all in your head, you know, your depression and stuff like that. The only reason why is because we've never tasted the sweetness of mindfulness. This is a donut. It's sugary, it's sweet, it's full of fat, and it's just delicious. But if you've never had a donut, you wouldn't know what it tastes like, how sweet it is.
The thoughts that you put into your head.
I think
And
with the
as
law
you-
of attraction, it's like what you are is what you attract, right? I think I used to believe in that, whereby I used to expose myself with a lot of things and stuff. You see the relevance in everything that occurs in your life, the synchronicity of things, these meaningful coincidences. But after all this time, I think after quite some time, I feel that staying centered to yourself, with faith, with devotion, with intentions, very clear and precise intentions.
What is
It's not
what is
pretty.
your purpose, man? What is your purpose in life?
Centering myself, we're in love with this experience. Of course, it's beautiful. It's most merciful that we are free from ourselves and our anxieties and our ideologies, and to finally like clear the air in the bag to take a very nice breath, very nice profound breath. But eventually it's nothing special anymore.
Okay. So do you think like exercise, yoga, stretching, all these things contribute to your well-being up here or in the heart?
Definitely. A lot of people, they can cope with they can go through their, practical life and whatever better if they work out and stuff like that. But for those who are more inclined to truth, I think that for those more inclined to truth, it's still here, It begins with here, and then you start with your yoga and stuff like that. Worldly well-being, I would say, bluntly, for the lack of better word. But exercise and all that is pretty important, I would say. It's always natural if you do it more willingly. Same goes to approaching the path of truth. You have to go at it willingly. Not somebody forcing you, not you forcing yourself, not you trying to abide in stillness, whereby, when you catch yourself thinking and whatever, you are like, stop, like you are always in friction with the mind, when the mind is innocent in itself. But we gotta give it a lot of patience. Patience plays a big part.
Right.
Which goes back to why you should sweep your floor. Wake up in the morning, do your bed, sweep your floor, get your room in order. My everyday is more like I move, I walk to places, I do a bit of, cutting the grass. It's more of a natural thing, because I'm very much not buying all this like fitness and getting buff and stuff. It's all in here. It's everybody is over here, everybody is the same. Everybody, privilege doesn't matter. Everybody has the same head start. I've been like everybody else. I'm still like everybody else. I am no different in a way where I have woken myself. I am woke, so now you guys are different from me. Everybody has ideals, right? And our ideals are like the greatest judge. If you don't have an ideal, then there's no point like judging anything.
Do you know, so sorry to interrupt you, we were talking about religion prior to this, right? What do you think of a non-Muslim marrying a Muslim, being forced into converting into Islam?
It's just like, alright, you're in love. If the chick has to convert, go ahead, go at it. But it's all about actions and consequences here. If you convert, your family, whatever, is gonna, there's some friction to that. There's always a fine art in sort of dissolving that friction. You have the power to do that, rather than just, my family hates me now and I'm just gonna like stray away from that, But people unfortunately don't have the reference point to that, but some way somehow this speaks at a certain time for certain people, in a way where they stumble upon it accidentally and things just come together. But I don't think it's that much of an issue. It's just paper, it's just practicality. You have to take stock of your practicalities, take stock of the worldly stuff, because the mistake that people make, spiritual people make, is that, oh, the world is not real, so therefore I'm not gonna participate in any of this. I'm not gonna take stock. I'm not gonna play the game. But still, in the end, the game dictates everything in your life, and you justify it spiritually, So that's pretty unfair to yourself as well.
How does someone clean their heart though? Converting, it doesn't matter. It's what you believe in here. But how does someone clean and purify yourself from what you have went through and still is going through? What would you suggest to those out there who are listening, right? Who wants to clean their soul and clean their heart, center themselves?
So I think it's back to basics. The basics of stillness. Some way, somehow, you gotta sort of know what's true. This what's true, as in this silence, this noisy silence, everything around you that's just happening around you and whatever. And the heart is just paying attention to the heart, basically, and trust the process. It's a very slow process. Everybody, in the overstimulated society, it's always just okay, you take this and then you cleanse, you do this, you cleanse, you smudge some sage, you cleanse, you do yoga, you cleanse. I wish it's that easy. Honestly, I wish it's that easy, but it's much easier than that.
You wish it was that easy, but it is much simpler than that.
It's much simpler than that, in a way where, of course, your mind's gonna argue with it and tell yourself I'm not in a position to be still. I'm not in a position to sort of listen to everything around me. Don't shut them out. Listen to them. There's a bit of truth in there as well. If you have set your intentions whereby seriously, I want well-being, no compromise. The heart needs to soften. It needs to open up. It needs to gentle down, And then you start looking at your issues and everything very differently, because you're not looking at it from a dense state. In a dense state, of course, it's an issue, it's a problem. The energy we give it, the frequency that we give to it is dense. So of course it's heavy, it's problem, where I could go through the same problem, but I look at it and laugh. We eventually have to mature. Some way, somehow, the heart has got to soften and mature. It will definitely shift. Posture is very important.
This is with
shoulders up. Shoulders.
This is how yoga plays a role, I guess.
Yeah, yoga is the body language of truth. This is the part of yoga whereby you do all those body language and stuff like that. The postures and the stands and whatever in a very balanced way. It's not yoga level up, but stillness level is not there yet. I feel that from my experience, it's all those things together naturally, but it starts with the authority of stillness. It tells you, alright, round shoulders back, stand straight, don't slouch and stare downwards and whatever. It gives you this sort of flow, this sort of very futuristic sort of primal, primitive but future in a way, Posture and stuff like that is still secondary, but I would say it's sort of important, but the heart, stillness, that's all,
Does music play a big role in you evolving as a person, as to what stillness has provided you?
Oh yes.
Yeah?
Yes, Bob Dylan definitely just chilling. He's done with his life,
Yeah, he is though. He is a little bit.
He's done so much. He's seen so many things. So he's chilling, That's his karma, I guess. Of course, he's not supposed to go through explosive, experiential, spiritual journey or whatever. He's just a regular guy, in the world realm.
And this is a chance where I flip the script, man. I let you ask me any questions that you have on top of your mind. Go for it, bro.
Well, I like to say I like to ask. Do you think a lot
Yeah.
about what?
The projection of my future self, but not to say that I am not still with myself. I am alone with myself in my mind and my thoughts, and I have my moments, but I'm constantly on projection of the worldly future self of mine, that I'm constantly experimenting on creating something out of nothing from my
You
mind.
can take stock of your future and act upon it now, and then have a good future. In all acceptance and submitting to the will of God, whatever He wants to happen.
Yeah.
Kita berdoa, kita berdoa, kita tawakal lah kan. Stillness doesn't contradict this either. With stillness, it's more sort of precise. It's more less words, more meaning. It's not just mumbling and chitter chatter that you give meaning to. All of your good intentions and stuff like that can be very heartfelt if you can look at it from the point of stillness, and then you take a look at your future from standing in there as well. Then it's just nothing to worry about, dude.
Yeah.
There is nothing to worry about. God says, man, who the fuck are you to worry? Serious, like who are you to worry? There's no point in worrying. I know you do take stock. You have that intentions. You want to find out. You're more humble than anybody that I ever talked to. A lot of people give me shit, man. I mean, they are friends and stuff like that. They want to know, of course. But then when you salah cakap sikit, they are like, but you are accepting. You sort of can look at it in a holistic way. I would say you're on the right path, and your intelligence and your heart can be way more intelligent. You're an intelligent man.
Put some heart into it, right?
Yeah, put some heart to it, and everything just sort of comes together. It sorts itself out, rather than us manually trying to sort this out with all willpower. Just grace, only grace, just restfulness. But dude, percaya lah, man. I believe in you, man. So like sort of realistically speaking, if I can have it my way, of course, everybody's gonna be all like still and stuff like that. But then it will start to recreate itself. The problems of the world, whereby like, okay, imagine heaven.
Okay.
Heaven is just too fucking
Abstract.
too fucking good.
Okay.
There's no problems and stuff like that. We thrive on problems.
Okay.
We thrive on all of these complex troubleshooting and whatever. That's what makes us wiser. That's what makes us more intelligent. If we don't go through anything every day, then it's just there's nothing to it. You have to rest forever or something. But I guess I've always thought that in heaven, all of this ideological stuff will recreate itself. Heaven becomes the new earth, and probably hell is. I'm talking about it in the Abrahamic perspective, lah. With all the fire and stuff like that, and hell will be like the heaven, because you're in a complete state of surrendering while you get tortured and stuff like that. When you're in pain, dude, there's no other way but to surrender. You are more surrendered there. So what I really want is mostly very selfish. I want just a house on a cliff of Bali, on the land owned by my Bapa Angkat, Pak Mangku. I've seen that land. Ooh, I've always imagined that house being built there. Something like a nice permaculture community or whatever, something that is grounded, that is it's easy for everybody to operate with such ease. There's so much harmony, there's so much, this can't be applied to the whole world, but people should make it a point to apply harmony, not just build things just for practicalities and whatever, but like the ancient Romans and stuff like that, they built things for beauty as well as for functionality. That's why there was more wisdom and deep philosophies that the golden age and stuff like that. That's how all of these things happen. Whereas nowadays it's just more overstimulated and watered down, wishy-washy. It's so watered down, like macam syrup,
Yeah.
like it's tasteless. So we want more and more and more of it, but it just doesn't cut our mustard. Nothing will ever be satisfying. So what I really want is just that in a space there is my teacher. I can finally rest, live my simple life. I'm not gonna change the world, fuck that. I'm not gonna inspire people, but if you're looking for that, just come find me. I'm just there in my land, whatever. I mean, you can find me now, and anyways, it's just as fine, but I am more equipped in the future, probably.
Yeah, Bali will be your present, your future land, I guess. Right.
It's different energy there. Over here, the energy of truth is not so. You gotta be strong in here, in order to cope with all of this stuff. Not cope lah, but in order to rest with all this stuff.
Hello, Kopi Ke Milo podcast. Milo Fico signing out.